Salvete mihi nomen est, Stella, et hoc est Batgirl the Oracle, the Barbara Gordon podcast, episode 249 for August MMXXIV. Batgirl the Oracle is brought to you by MileHighComics.com, your new and collectible comic book store. Mile High Comics has an inventory of over 5 million comics from the gold, silver, bronze, and modern age, and over 100,000 trade paperbacks. If you're not into the vintage stock, Mile High Comics also has a subscription service called the New Issue Comics Express, offering a discounted price for comics ready to hit the shelves. So if you're looking for vintage back issues or a great modern subscription service, be sure to check out milehighcomics.com. I'm like literally recording kind of the 11th hour of when episodes are due on the Batman universe. But here we are. I got just kind of bogged down in other things. And last week was our first week, like our first full week back with all the meetings and stuff. And that was just a lot. And then the week prior was half a week of just new teacher orientation, a lot of which I'm just like, why am I here for this? And then this week, we're still kind of allowed to no meetings except for one on Friday and allowed to work in our classroom. And then next week after Labor Day is when the kids actually come. So we're getting ever closer. Just did some planning today, and I've been translating Latin on the side and getting prepped for a course that I'm creating from scratch, which will be a survey of Latin poetry. Some poems and poets are more difficult than others. So luckily, Ovid's at the end. Well, him and Lucretius are at the end, which would probably be the two most difficult of the people that I have chosen. But yeah, here we are. Quick updates. A good friend Harry came down and for the explicit reason of seeing the new Alien Romulus film, which I give thumbs up on, and I'd like to see it again. And I hope that, I mean, this is on him that we do a podcast on it because there are a lot of things that I do want to discuss about it, but I do recommend that, if you're an Aliens fan, I think you're going to appreciate it. And then if you're new to the series, I think it's a great hopping on uh part or film, just because very much, all the characters are like new reader friendly almost because they have no idea what the heck is going on. So I do recommend it. And we also went to the Baltimore Aquarium, which I enjoyed. And then Saturday we went to Six Flags, and that was great. It was kind of an anomaly because it wasn't very busy, but the forecast kept changing. And so we lucked out that it didn't rain and there weren't a lot of people. And then Sunday was just kind of a lazy day, and we attempted the woobles, which is a crocheting, and I had a failure. um, so I'm gonna have to try again. And he was also unable to complete his, so that's a work in progress for sure. Crocheting is much harder than I thought, and I never thought that it was easy. And we also changed my air cabin filter. So we did some adulting things, which was great. And now I wish you could come back because I want to change out one of my stereo speakers, my front door. And I would like a second person to do that because it'd be way cheaper than paying labor, which apparently will be $125. So, anyways, adulting, fun things. So, yeah, it was a quick trip for him. And he did a red eye on Amtrak, which I didn't even know existed, but he is back now. And yeah, not too many, I think, hijinks or anything. So there we are. I do have some news updates, which I feel like it's been such a long time since I've done any news, but it looks like November is going to be jam packed with some great stuff that I think a lot of people are excited for. First of all, Tom King and Ryan Sook are taking on Black Canary, which is called The Best of the Best, and that is launching November 27th, and that's going to be the DC Comics Black label. And I think that that is in continuity, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Who knows if it's going to affect at all the Birds of Prey title? Tom King is likening it to his Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow work, which I have, but I've still yet to read because I do like his kind of limited series that he does. And then the other one, which might be even more exciting for people, is that on November 6th, we're looking at Cassandra Cain relaunching into a Batgirl title, or should I say, Batgirl is relaunching with Cassandra Cain as the Batgirl. And the writer is Tate Bromble, who was or is writing Green Lantern Dark. Don't know anything about this person except he's a man. And Takeshi Miyazawa, and I'm a fan of their work, their artwork. So I think we're good. And this is part of DC's their new all-in publishing initiative. It's taking place right after the events of Absolute Power. And I know that it's going to be big Cass and Lady Shiva. So we'll see. I have some questions about what does that mean for her in Birds of Prey? If she'll just be leaving, will she be in a couple books? I wonder if Barbara's going to at all be in that title, though really their relationship, I think, is different than it was pre New 52. And will Steph take part in that particular book? And of course, yeah, if she is in that book, would they ever pull that trigger about having a relationship? But November is looking pretty packed with, I guess, fun things. I have no idea yet what I'm going to be doing about all of this. If Black Canary, the best of the best, is a limited, I might wait until the whole thing comes out and then do a review of that. And then with Batgirl, I mean, this is a Batgirl podcast, so I think I'll be reviewing that. Unfortunately, I realized as I was finishing up this Birds of Prey arc that I didn't completely finish in the previous episode. At the end of issue 85, it says, like, check out the Birds of Prey in Batgirl 67. And I thought, what's the last Batgirl issue that I actually covered? And it was like 55. So I skipped somehow a year of Cassandra Cain from 2004 to 5. So after this episode, you can kind of expect me to be doubling back and catching up where I should be with Cass's book. But I guess that's a nice little lead up to her new comics. So that's basically it. So those news. So if you're a Black Canary fan, seems like a good time. I know that Tom King seems to be divisive. So I think some people really love Tom King and some people do not. I think that we can expect maybe controversy, but I've liked all of the things that he's done, so I'm looking forward to it. So we shall see. Okay, well, I just have, yeah, two reviews, and they're both Birds of Prey because I had that 4 issue arc and I thought, oh, that's it. And then it said to be continued. I thought, well, isn't that too bad? Especially when the titles don't continue with what it was before, that it has the title of the arc and then the colon and the whatever it's called, because this was just called Knockout and the other one was called A New Morning's Resolution, but it would have been nice to see that kind of connected to the previous one. But we're doing 2 issues. First is Birds of Prey 84, Knockout. September 2005 is the cover date. Writer Gail Simone, penciler Joe Bennett, inker Jack Jadson, and colorist Hi-Fi Design. Helena Bertinelli returns home to find that Barbara Gordon has broken in and is waiting for her. Gordon apologizes to Huntress, and later on, Babs gets checked out by Dr. Midnight, who finds out that she has something cybernetic growing inside her that has been there since her encounter with Brainiac. She decides to have it removed, even though this is not going to be an easy procedure, number one. And number two, it could leave her paralyzed from the neck down. So there's lots of danger here. And then Huntress takes out several crime syndicate members. So she's kind of pushing forward that mission. And that synopsis came from the DC Wikia. So here we have our cover, which has Helena spotlit as Huntress, I should say. And it says caught in the crossfire. I would say a pretty good cover overall. So I think my last big question, I guess, from the previous issue was just about what Canary and Wildcat were doing. And did they have money and funds to actually stop this drug trade and take it over? And that question was answered because we find out that there was a payment made, but it was a fake one at least. And then the leader over there has to kind of change things up and get back his original buyers. So we've got, of course, this Huntress and Dick moment after a brief tussle. They kind of talk about what part they're playing in this particular mission, what Huntress is doing and what Dick has been doing in two different ways. They kind of joke about their sexual past, where Helena says, "Don't take this the wrong way, but don't you think you should get off of me?" And then Dick says, "Don't take this the wrong way, but I'm not enjoying this." Though at the end, she does say, "I never figured you for a guy who keeps his wallet in his front pocket." So we can assume, I suppose, that he was aroused, A, or B, she's just trying to get a jab at him. A lot of this conversation, which was interesting, is Huntress really talking poorly about Babs, which makes sense given what had happened. But I am glad that Dick is like, whatever your issue is with her, don't talk about her like that in front of me. And that's certainly something that I try to do because there are times that I might be a part of one group and there might be a member that's not in that group. That someone will talk about because maybe the larger group does not like that person, but I might get along with them. And so I do like try to defend them. And I think this goes to a lot of things that happen. And like, do you speak up or do you not? Because how you speak up is important. And then what you say, just, yeah, tone, facial expression, body language, and then the words that you're using because you're like deciding whether you're going to do it, what the ramifications will be in the now of is this going to cause some sort of friction in the moment that you're in? But I always appreciate someone kind of standing up and doing that. I mean, obviously, you probably shouldn't be talking badly about anyone. So that would cease all issues. But, if it has to happen and you know that someone's there, I mean, that's a little iffy. When you know that someone is there that likes the person you're about to talk about, why are you doing that? Like, that speaks a little. Um, it might speak more highly of your character than you would like. And then if you don't, then hopefully the other person kind of speaks up. But then it goes back to, do you tell? This is all, that show Selling Sunset and Selling the OC, all those things. It's like, do you agree with the people kind of pushing that message on once they hear something? And I can appreciate that sometimes, but also other times it like creates unnecessary drama. So it's easier to just, I think, end it and then don't let the other person find out that someone was talking about them. But anyways, that's just a little social cues there. I know that it's hard sometimes, and I'm getting back into a workplace, and so I'm just like prepared for this sort of thing to happen again. So Barbara clearly gets a little bit better because she's able to get out of the plane and she's getting her affairs in order, it seems, and making up to different people. And Huntress is the only one we see that she's making up with. There's someone else that would have been interesting that I'll mention later that I wish she could have had. That's a similar moment. But she really, like, she goes through almost kind of all these things that she is either ashamed of or embarrassed about, or she considers a secret and is like going through everything. And of course, like, Helena has no idea like what's going on, and even asks like, what is it you're trying to do here? And Barbara's saying, letting you know I've got a whole lifetime of mistakes of my own and I want us to be even. And she does, golly, I mean, she said she was wrong. Let me skim through this and hopefully say, yep, I'm sorry for what I did. I was waiting for that because she does say I'm wrong, but it's like, are these people saying I am sorry? And she is. And I think that that's a great character moment for Barbara. Yeah, she messed up. She messed up big time, but the fact that she owns it and goes to Huntress and like she said, evens the playing field, I think was great. I do wonder if she was not on quote unquote death's door, would she do it? Because that's another difference of, these people like in social media, on social media, when they make an uh-oh and then they apologize when people call them out. I feel like that's different than when you realize you're uh-oh and you immediately apologize rather than someone kind of forcing you to. So had she not been sick, would she try to have made it better? There are, like I said, some really interesting things. I kind of have an issue with, I don't even think I should say kind of, but the fact that she had a crush on Killer Moth is a little weird for me. There's also a lot of like body issues, body embarrassment, body self-consciousness, being jealous of other people's bodies. This is something that's happening to her in middle school, it looks like. She's jealous of Power Girl's body. I mean, who wouldn't be? And it's just interesting that that was kind of a thread that went through there. And since I consider Barbara an attractive person, but something that she like really struggled with and maybe still struggles with. And I thought, oh, is she about to say, like, I'm jealous of your body? And this is why all this happened? Because that would have been odd. I think that she did all this because she was jealous of Huntress's body, which speaking of what Huntress is wearing, if I can show this, it's like kind of a crop top. Can I show this? There it is. But like a sweater crop top, it's a bit odd. But of course, she's wearing that as Babs is talking about all of that. And then I think one of the biggest one is talking about how after she was shot, she made a promise no one would see me cry again, and she realizes that was wrong of her and she should have let her friends in. And that's a growth of Barbara and why she was kind of a curmudgeon, and not letting anyone in. But I think a good scene overall. Just the killer moth was a bit odd, and lots of, yeah, just discussing the body issues, I think was interesting. Babs is really, I mean, she's trying to make it light, I guess, but very much pushing the limits. Dinah actually saying, I almost slapped you. When Babs is saying, you got to honor a girl's last request. So it's very hard. And Dinah's the one that's really with her this entire time, with the exception of the actual procedure. But she's there when she drops her off. She's there, maybe the first person when Babs opens her eyes. So to be joking around with people, and I understand why those jokes are made, but maybe to be a bit better about how other people are dealing with these sorts of things. Yeah, definitely some intimate moments between Babs and Donna. I could see where people would have some of these shipping arguments, like here with her. I mean, if there were no context on that, people would be like, oh my gosh, what's happening here? But yeah, Babs has a huge decision to make, and I appreciate, the stakes that they're so high to remove this really techno tumor because she could lose more of her mobility, but she's also willing to unalive herself if the tumor doesn't allow the operation, which we'll see later on. I'm not sure if it's in this continuity, but I do know that Dinah and Dr. Midnight dated at one point, but I can't recall if it was now or post New 52, or I should just say New 52. There was a moment where, yeah, she was about to call him Doc and then says Peter. Um, Makes it more intimate, but very interesting. Um, the Josh situation, if you're reading this, I do wonder if you all think that she was a bit too heavy-handed, or as he says, maybe too honest with him, and was talking about what happened. And she was at a very low point, and then all of a sudden, yeah, it pretty much put me off for good. And he said off of us, and for some reason he's smiling, so I feel like that's an art error. She says no Josh off of sex like forever with anyone. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then she keeps going, I mean, it was so bad that I could live to be 1,000 and never want. And he's like, I get it. I'm like, that's a bit too much. And I don't know, maybe you should have brought this up like one of the other times that we had seen Josh, but now I kind of feel bad for the guy, even though he is a hanger on. I do say that as much as I always give the bat jerk, um, give him a hard time, that he does come to see her and is very sweet with her, gives her a kiss, watches over her for a little bit, which she thinks is a dream, but then I think she realizes that, oh, he was actually here. I think that's all I have to say about this particular one. We're just kind of continuing to set some stuff up, but I think good conversations, the Huntress stick conversation, and getting more insight into her anger towards Babs, Babs relaying all that insider information to Huntress and apologizing, I thought was great. The scenes between Dinah and Babs were great just to showcase their friendship and how concerned Dinah is. And then Batman not being a jerk this time. So we'll now move on to Birds of Prey 85, which is A New Morning's Resolution. October 2005 was the cover date. Writer Gail Simone, penciler Joe Bennett, and a bad guy whose name we shall not mention here. Inker Jack Jadson and Robin Riggs. Colors Hi-Fi Design. And this came from the DC publisher synopsis. Battle Within concludes as Oracle risks everything to fight the Brainiac virus on her own. Plus, Canary begs Huntress to rejoin the team. The future of the birds hangs in the balance in this issue. Plus, don't miss the Birds of Prey guest appearance in Batgirl 67. I feel like that was a bit misleading because there's this huge fight scene that happens that they don't even talk about in there. But here's the cover. We had Superman, Dr. Midnight, and Zinda. And then, of course, you see Barbara here. This is kind of like the reverse of Carolyn Knows because you see her legs and her hands, but no head. So I don't know what that is, like the inverse of hashtag Carolyn Knows. I was a bit confused about Josh being on that ship and getting people off. I thought at the rooftop discussion that was like they were ceasing their partnership. And so I thought, oh no, because the ship blows up at the end with all the drugs, that maybe he's dead. But maybe he was still, I've come to the conclusion that he might have still been a part of the plan at this point, and it was just to get the people off the ship so that they could actually destroy it. So it's kind of nuts that all of these people who are with Barbara, in the, I guess we'll call it a hospital room of some sort. And everyone knows that she must somehow be extraordinary, but they aren't sure who she could be. I mean, even Dr. Midnight at one point, which was the most shocking one, I think, said, this is not some ordinary librarian, because clearly Bruce Wayne is paying a lot of money for, I think, an anesthesiologist came there. You have Superman who's doing the x-rays the entire time to see if the virus starts moving or what the tumor does. Yeah, all of these people, and they're just like, oh, it's just some girl. Stargirl and Power Girl are there. And then when Jim Gordon arrives and Bab says, I have something to tell you, and he's like, wait until you wake up. But he doesn't wonder like what's going on. And he actually sees Dinah and like hugs her. So they have some sort of a relationship. So there's just like a lot of confusion about who knows who and who knows what about what, I guess I should say. I do like the appearance of Power Girl here. And this was the other person that I thought, oh, if you had some more page time, Simone, could you have done this? Because that would have been interesting to have those fences mended. I think Babs I feel like Babs doesn't need to do a tour of people that she's hurt. I feel like it might be just those two. The Huntress she did because that was like an immediate issue. There was a team of 3, 4, and mend that. And it was the one that happened the soonest. But the Power Girl thing has been going on for so long, since like before this team had been created, that I feel like maybe you should have made an attempt on that. And I at least appreciate, that Power Girl says like, I hope she's okay. So at least, she's not vindictive, but who knows if we ever see a reconciliation between the two of those. I didn't realize that Huntress trained with Richard Dragon. I don't know if this is a new detail or something that had been in her past. And I was actually the most worried about her in this lineup because someone else comments about it. I think it might have been Dinah, that everyone else has like a specific skill set. And Huntress is skilled, but she's skilled with a certain type of enemy. And these 12 brothers were really not that type of enemy. But then your worries are assuaged a little bit when she's like, when Richard is talking to her and she says, I know you trained me. I don't know if anyone else hears that because then they would have been like, what? You were trained by Richard Dragon? But I do kind of want the backstory there. I liked the writing strategy that Simone uses here, where she goes back and forth between the surgery, where Babs is fighting for her life and fighting this techno thing inside her, and seeing Dinah's team face the 12 brothers. I think sometimes going back and forth in scenes doesn't work, but I think in this way it really does because the tones are similar. Very much lives are on the line in both ways, and the stakes are high for both of them. And I just think that they marry well together. We again see Dinah's standings in the fighting community as being one of the best, right? Because she was one of the last standing, and the 12 brothers refused to even the numbers. So it was 12v6, maybe. Um, so the fact that, multiple people of her team is taking on multiple members of the 12 brothers, and then some of them are getting knocked out, and she's really the one. They don't show everyone that is left standing because they do focus in on Dinah, but just to see that, I think another form of evidence to prove that she is a great fighter and one of the top in DC Universe. I do appreciate at the end, of course, there are no deaths, and they end the fight. We'll see if these people come back, because Robert does say, "Thank you for this experience, Sujik Chai." Sue Jerk Jai. I'm glad I wasn't forced to kill you this time. So we'll see what happens there. And then, yeah, Huntress and Dinah come to where Babs had her procedure, and Huntress is dragged inside by Dinah, and she's kind of in the background here. Like, Dinah is certainly close, which makes sense. But I wonder, she is tearing up. Huntress is there room for reconciliation here? So fingers crossed. I think though, just an apology is not enough, and there does need to be movement forward and repairing that relationship and the trust that was lost and everything. And then, of course, the big thing is that Barbara moved. She wiggled her toes. What does this mean for Babs? I don't know. I mean, she was still in a wheelchair for volume 2 of Birds of Prey, that Gail Simone runs. So we know it doesn't go too far. I did actually tweet out to Gail Simone to ask what fan reaction was at the time of this, whether people were excited about it or they didn't like that she had any mobility, but have not heard back. So I cannot help you there. So overall, I'm sorry that I didn't connect these two with the previous, but that would have been, man, 6 issues to go on. But here we are, a nice little resolution and hope for the future, which will, fingers crossed, we get the birds all back together and nice relationships. So I would give this, I guess, these two as like a connecting and the arc 9 out of 10 wiggling toes for those with a foot fetish. Okay, now over to listener emails, which I think I only have one. I don't think I have any YouTube comments, but this comes from Earth2 BFF Shayna. Hi, Stella. I'm glad the move has gone well, and yay for a bigger place. Birds of Prey, The Battle Within. I am always a fan of a Ted Grant, Dinah Lance team up. Their banter in these issues are great, and I enjoy seeing them together. Birds of Prey number 11. Another great character building chapter. While the plot doesn't really move forward this issue, a lot happens. Curious to know who Constantine is thinking of, and I want to know if we'll see more Zealot down the line. And then she asks, have you watched the Cape Crusader on Prime? Any thoughts on Barbara's portrayal or on the series as a whole? Hopefully no one revokes my Bat Family fan card, but I have yet to watch that particular show. I think if it's coming out episodically, I think I was waiting until there were multiple episodes. And if it wasn't and it just all dropped and I haven't watched it, it's just because I was kind of a mood watcher. I am a mood watcher. I don't say was in the past tense, but I was trying to figure out like things to watch. And I had lists and I finally got to Shogun. Like I'm on Shogun now. So I do need to go back. I know Barbara is in it and I hear that she is capably written, but I cannot answer this at this time. And I think there's a Kite Man show that the professor also mentioned that I should be watching. So yes, I'll need to get back to you on that. And I think that's it. Remember, you can always, send any questions or comments to batgirltheoracle@gmail.com. And if you would like to, you can always post on the YouTube, which I don't think I had any comments last time. So I'm going to take my break now. When I come back, I'm going to do a full review of Birds of Prey, Volume 5, number 12. But first, Zeiss's Radio Hour, and this is dedicated to Professor Coca Jr., who is going out into the world to college. And I will say that a funny thing, I was talking about her to Harry because of this song slash the group that sings. And I cannot recall what he asked, but he was talking about her mother, and instead of saying Professor Coca, said Professor Coca Jr.'s mother, which I thought was pretty hilarious. So now you have your like autonomy Professor Coca Jr. and who even cares about your mom anymore? She's just only relevant in terms of you, at least for Harry there. But anyways, yeah, this goes out to you. Good luck moving and everything. I think this is happening this week. So it's Phobia by Stray Kids. See you guys soon.